Welcome back, everybody, to the LJL officially unofficial English broadcast, and we are here back for game 2 of the day, Sengoku Gaming versus V3 Esports. And I want to jump to you straight away, Initialize. You are kind of the historian of the league, and you had much to say in our off time about the history of these guys.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief so we don't end up overrunning a little bit here. But effectively, these are two teams that are or were two of the best teams in the league 2 years ago in a lot of ways. This is the team, V3 went to Worlds in summer with an incredible roster. Sengoku Gaming in 2020 were a force to be reckoned with, particularly in the spring and somewhat towards the summer as well. Both teams kind of went for a bit of a rebuild in 2021. V3 did okay, but kind of fell apart again. Sengoku Gaming, it was a complete non-starter, so they had to rebuild again. And Sengoku seemed to have done so pretty well, all things said and done. V3, on the other hand, pulled up their academy roster, this superstar roster that rumors were saying were beating some of the best academy teams in the world, from the likes of the LPL, from the LCK and stuff. There was a lot of hype about these players. But they lost their superstar in Marble, who's gone over to other teams in the LJL, right? Like he's over on Hawks, if I remember correctly. Had a moment there where I need to think about that. Someone will have to correct me before I mess myself up there. Historian, by the way. But you know, the fact you've lost this superstar player was a pretty big deal. Now they've got to try and prove themselves without it. Whereas Sengoku, finally, potentially looking like one of our top 3 teams, right up there with DFM and Rascal Jester. Bit of a contest for that third spot, but they've certainly put their name in the hat.
Definitely, there's a lot of people currently contesting for that. I think we could agree that DFM Rascal Jester is currently looking at least a slight cut above the rest of the roster that we see. But I do want to draw attention to V3. As you said, they haven't really been able to come out of the gates firing. Currently at 0-3. RMC, do you have any definitive thoughts about where this team isn't going? Well, you know, where their root of their problem lies. It is not having Marble, obviously, is a big disadvantage. We've heard that he and Hetel had a really, really good bot synergy, but bot alone does not a team make.
Yeah, when you're asking me if I have an idea of where they're not going to go, I'll tell you it's not the top of the table right now, because the team, if you're asking, where they need to use a little bit of work, I mean, their laning needs some work, their team fighting needs some work, the macro needs some work. It sounds like I'm memeing them and saying that they're bad overall, but they're not. They're actually just short a little bit in all these categories. And the problems, when you add them up, that's when they have problems, and that's when they're really struggling.
Yep, we are ready to go into draft, so I'm going to let you guys take this one away for game 2, V3 versus Sengoku Gaming. Let's get it.
Thank you so much, Brackish. Britt, we are indeed into the draft, and I'll have to see, of course, whether what you were saying there, RMC, about V3 holds true, right? Because you're saying the bones are there of a good team.
Yeah.
But there are some issues that means they're not quite there yet. And the problem is when you're in that's part of the deal with an academy team, right? Like what works at the level below does not work at the level above necessarily. And especially considering the level of the LJL on average has gone up pretty high, it's a pretty big deal as a first pick. Caitlyn comes in for dress code. That's a statement. Time to see whether they can pull it off.
Yeah, and Initialize is not just the first pick Caitlyn. This is the first Caitlyn we're seeing in the LJL for 2022. Oh, yeah. She's had 100% ban rate up to this point here. Karma actually right up there in terms of ban rate as well. We've only seen one Karma game so far, and these teams are letting it through. So the fact that we're seeing Sengoku let that Caitlyn through might be, I don't want to say overconfidence here, but it's a huge deal that they're saying, we can let you have this, and we're still okay in draft.
Let me give you some numbers, though, because part of this is basically, this is Honey and Enti throwing down the gauntlet. Honey was the best performing stat-wise AD carry in the LJL summer last year. He put up the highest DPM numbers, not just for the league, but for any starting AD carry in the world in summer. He was at obscene damage levels. It was nearly 1,000 DPM at some point in the split. It was absolutely obscene. This guy was a monster, is a monster. And if you are saying, V3, yes, we historically played through bot when we were really good in Academy. We have Marble. We're going to do it again today. We've locked in the Poppy. We've locked in the Nautilus. We're going to make sure that you can never get to our Caitlyn. One of the Sengoku might well just take that and say, fine, try and play through bot. Just see what happens. And that is a spicy, spicy gauntlet to throw down. Jhin would not be necessarily what I'd be expecting, but between the Karma, you can definitely play for a lot of utility and a lot of pick. And that is the option for Honey here.
Yeah, and Jhin Karma is a combo, actually, that is considered one of the viable answers to a Caitlyn, and the idea behind it is that you get priority on the wave. You can shove back. The poke is good onto the Nautilus, or even with an Enchantress support, you'd still get poked down. And Jhin early game can match range with Caitlyn, not with autos, but more with the Deadly Flourish and chaining, into the bouncing grenades as well, to try and hit the Caitlyn just by extending it through the minion. So that's the idea behind this bot lane. And it can match. You love to see it here. Now, both teams still looking for their top and mid laners. And I do feel like there's a very big difference between the two teams and how their solo lanes like to play. For the side of Sengoku, Paz has been a monster in that side lane. Nar, Graves, Hullbreaker all the way here, looking for that 1v1. And Washida has played the exact same champions. 2 games of Graves, 1 great game of Nar as well. So it's really a big question of who gives up what. Graves is off the table, so that Nar pick, which will go over the way of with Sengoku here, they get first pick on that, might cause Washida to have to change up the champion pool a little bit.
Unless, of course, potentially they think about banning it here, so it'll be that second control mage. The two semi-robotic members of Piltover, nay Zorn, definitely some options, and it's just the Gwen locked in instead for Paz saying, okay, show me what you have. Do you have something to match this Gwen that has been tearing up competitive across the world? Not been such a priority here in the LJL, though. In fact, that's going to be close to potentially our first Gwen pick of the season. We've not had very many of them, if any at all.
Yeah, I'd have to double check that to see. I want it's hard for me to imagine that we've not had a Gwen, but Kennen has been a solid answer into the Gwen pick worldwide here. You have the range advantage early. Hallowed Mist won't save you against the Slicing Maelstrom, especially if you're being aggressive with that Gwen. So I like the pickup there. And the Syndra, the blind Syndra here to sort of deal with whatever you pick. It's a nice solid blind pick. You do get shove priority in your lane pretty much against any other mid laner right now.
We have had one Gwen pick. One Gwen pick, I think, as it stands. Like I say, it's the second Gwen pick we had. To see who played it. Double check it now and see. So it would have been Nap. Indeed, it was. That makes some sense. Well done on figuring that one out. There we go. And of course, Nap did play a little bit last year, but that is locked in. There's the Syndra Kennen, as you mentioned out. And Jet, though, has basically said, fine, I have got the mother of all Ultimas still here between Slicing Maelstrom, Depth Charge, Keeps Verdict. They're all good ones to be stealing, and you can definitely play a little bit obnoxious. But of course, Oppie not bad into a lot of that, champion, because you can stop a lot of the dashes between that mid-jungle pretty well.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the poppies here in the LJL, especially with the prevalence of Lee Sin as well. It just seems to do so well into the Lee Sin. Now, it's going to do great into the Sylas as well. And Sylas into Syndra is not a great lane for the Sylas here. He will eventually outscale the Syndra, but the range of Syndra early and the scatter of the weak means that Sylas really shouldn't get a good engage onto her ever in terms of ultimates as well. In the 2v2 situation, what are you going to steal? Keeper's Verdict, the Unleashed Power. If you take the Unleashed Power, you rely on the Syndra here and will be able to set up all the orbs for you. If the orbs aren't there, your ult's not going to do damage. And Keeper's Verdict, that's not a killing ultimate. That's more of a zoning or disengaging ultimate there.
Yeah, and call it out as well. The more I'm seeing Gwen, the more I'm talking with some of the pro players around sort of the EU scene in particular, there has been a kind of conversation about, well, what do you play into Gwen? And Kennen's been one of the champions that people have started picking up into the Gwen, the ability to basically poke her out because you're ranged into melee. You can be pretty aggro early. You can force her to use the Hallowed Mist in opportune moments. You can stun her and run away relatively well as well. And then on top of that, you can just go into the Hallowed Mist and press R and go, fine, you put down a Thunderdome. Let me show you what a Thunderdome really is. And brings the lightning. So you have got some options there into the Gwen, even if she does scale so exceptionally well as a champion.
Yeah, and the team fighting as well from McKinnon is just incredible. Granted, V3 don't have a great team fighting composition necessarily, but hey, every little bit helps, right, when you're in the full scrum of it. Now, I have been informed by our host here, Brackish Brit, that Caitlyn does not have 100% ban rate anymore. In game 1 of today, she actually was neither picked nor banned initialized, and I'm shocked to hear that, honestly.
That is actually quite intriguing, but it means neither team was feeling comfortable with it. And, there is something to that, because playing with Caitlyn does warp your draft. It means you have to play a particular way.
It does.
And at this point, you can see V3, they've gone towards a Nautilus. It will get that hook. There was no sweep in the bush, and now Enti's in a lot of trouble. Takes an ignite for his trouble, does get rooted, but not quite enough. Now, Honey's turning it around pretty well. Both supports taken exceptionally low. But that might hurt the ability for Sengoku to shove Flash for the Dredge and force the Flash out of Enti in trade.
Not gonna lie, initialize. Part of me kind of hoped that they wouldn't flash. They still had the heal from Honey as well, and Hetzel really low there. I think they might have been able to turn it. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen here, but look at the jungle pathing coming through from both the junglers. They both start top. They're both looking bottom, and bottom right now, no sums for the supports.
Yeah, Once is going to just head over towards that Grump, get the heal off that. Might then look back towards the blue buff. May be able to look for that early-ish gank. Poppy still, of course, over on her Wolves. Means that she's going to be on a slightly slower rotation. But you can see why both junglers are pathing towards this lane. Caitlyn, such a lane-dominant champion. But you're into a Jhin plus a Karma. Karma is one of the most lane-dominant champions out there. And it's definitely meaning the control of this wave has been relatively back and forth. Instead, just going to look towards the mid lane gank instead here, potentially. But Eugeo, of course, we've been told he's changed his name pronunciation a little bit, making things quite difficult. We're going to see a gank. It's back again. Both junglers going to try and get something. That's a decent use of the Abscond Abduct. The Scatter of the Week gets one final Q. Might land. Can't quite make it work. And that does mean there is no resonating strike to follow up on. And both ganks don't work out there.
Initialize, this is one of those head-scratching moments I have a little bit when I saw the pathing. I was thinking, Once is brilliant here. All our attention's focused on this bot lane, and Once is saying, no, I'm going to out-mind game you. I'm not going to the bot lane. I'm going to go mid. And then he steps up from the bush, and that kind of spoils everything there, because now Eugeo knew that the Lee Sin was nearby, but still, despite knowing that, Syndra still pushed out once again. That had me scratching my head. Why? You knew you weren't safe in the bot side gank. Honey and Enti, if you don't have your jungler there, you've got to assume that, hey, we might be the focus. Didn't respect that. Ended up having to blow the heal.
So in dress code has actually had to back there a little bit in opportune moment. It does mean that they're going to lose a little bit of that wave to turret. That does mean a slightly better reset for Honey and Enti, but of course they are down those summoners you called out. And that could be problematic in terms of being able to get a kill in lane, even if they don't necessarily have the shove as easily as you might have in other Caitlyn lanes. Quick one as well. Actually, I say a quick one, but we're looking at a potential mid-roam here that won't turn into anything. So I will say this one is we have gotten word from Eugeo, who was formerly known as Eugeo, that he'd like his name to be changed and how it's pronounced. It's been changed over the years a little bit, and I think there was some issues with he wanted to change his name, but then he joined the league and couldn't get the name changed, so he had to stick around with it. So as it stands, the pronunciation as we understand it from down the pipeline, down the grapevine, is Eugeo. So don't get confused. That is actually still the same player. It's just a different pronunciation after some conversations between Japanese members of the press and casting team with the player themselves.
Oh, man, I hope this is one of those situations that the players kind of trolling with everybody with your name a little bit.
He might be. He did apologize to the casters, and I'm hoping that I understand. Is like, look, thank you for apologizing to us, but at the same time, like, I'm hoping this is what you actually want to be called, and that will be nice as well, because when you do get to choose your name for something like this, is nice to have people get it right. As I managed to hit my wrist on the desk and cause myself a lot of pain. What is my problem? I got too excited, man.
I was going to say, a little too excited with the name change there. We did practice hard to make sure we could actually pronounce it. You might still hear me fumbling, but you know that we tried here. Now, Jet and Eugeo here kind of going at it, and Jet has to be careful. Level 6 is not too far away here.
Not a lot of mana for Yu-Gi-Oh! Though, so that means it's not going to be the easiest time as Kennen took a bit of a chunk somehow, some way there. There's no ult pop by powers or anything, so that does mean it's just going to be the reset in, and that is with the Hextech Alternator being allowed, so not a bad back anyway, so going to come in and feel pretty happy about it. Unsurprising, we're seeing an AP build. AD Kennen is a thing of seasons past these days, and you're looking at another little look in here from Once, who's going to get a hold of this blue buff. And Lee Sin is a champion that is synonymous with this player. When Once was at his best, he was doing unspeakable things on Lee Sin with the likes of Yuumi and stuff supporting him. I remember a 9-1 Lee Sin game where he absolutely demolished everybody in front of him when he had, it would have been Proud's Yuumi backing him up. And it is a champion which gives him playmaking, gives him early aggro, things that when Once has been good, he has definitely made his own.
Yeah, and I'd be very impressed if Once can go 9-1 again into this Poppy Kennen style of team. But hey, you did it once. Maybe you can do it again here. Now, bot side, we do see that Honey and NT were able to roam out here to help up. And we did mention that, hey, it might be a little bit hard for them to get kills, but they don't have to get kills. This is not how this bot lane works. When you're up against a Caitlyn, and like you said, Caitlyn warps the draft, she warps the game. Your Caitlyn has to win. And a win for Caitlyn means being up significant amounts of CS. I'd say 20 to 30 coming out of your laning phase. And ideally, you need to take a turret as well. Right now, Dress Code is achieving neither of those. Is actually down a little bit of CS here and has not threatened that turret whatsoever. So Honey and Enti, while being even, are actually ahead of the game.
And that was the big deal, right? You picked the Nautilus. That's not a Lux. That's not the Karma, of course, which Enti got a hold of. You're not matching range supports. And it has meant that even with a little bit of gank assist and some, early summoners blown, you haven't turned it into a kill, which is what you can do with that lane. Instead, you're kind of trading, well, I've got Jim plus Karma, which means they definitely do have the wave clear they need to match us. So I can't shove up to tower versus just the Caitlyn, who, yes, is pretty good at shoving wave, is pretty good at being powerful with her early range advantages, but isn't going to necessarily get as much out of it as she wants. As Paz fire a little bit there going towards the Honey for it, but it will be V3 roaming up for an early Herald. But Sengoku Gaming bringing all forces over here. Honey with the curtain call available could definitely make this one a difficult one. Down to 1500 HP. Tries to get the keeper's verdict secured by Unica, but what about the fight? That's going to be the knock-up. Going to try and get something out of it. Paz into the backside, getting as much damage as they can. That is not the best slicing maelstrom we've ever seen. Unica will be flashed on for first blood. One final auto secures another for Honey. And Sengoku Gaming punished the rotation for Herald.
Yeah, V3 going for the Herald, I think, was an okay play there. The problem is you needed an exit strategy. And I thought Washide's job was to try and zone everybody out, just put down as much CC as possible, but ended up just trying to chase Honey down, and that did not work out. We've seen similar things before. You need to know your role in these fights, and in that fight, you were the exit strategy. If you mess up your part, people can't escape, and Washide died, but he wasn't the only one to go down here. We get the replay onto this, and Unica did a great job zoning out once, but like I said, just watch this slicing maelstrom positioning here. There is beautiful 3-4-man stun, and so it wasn't even Honey that Washide went after. They went for NT and an exit right there. Like, no, you need to die for your team. If not, you die on your own and your team suffers.
There's a mantra E, that defiance comes through, and suddenly you're not at one item here. There's nothing like a shadow flamer even to kind of like cut through to help with the kind of punishing shields. I won't call it necessarily pure anti-shield. You don't have the damage there to 1v4 as a cannon at this point in the game, and with everyone else kind of zoned out, it just didn't work out. Yes, you have the Herald. You're not that. You are 2,000 gold down though as a result of some of those plays, and you've got a kill onto this Jin, which is a bit scary. You got to kill onto the Silas, who might otherwise have had a bit of a difficult time. And suddenly you're feeling a little bit wary for V3's chances in this game, despite some early pressure options with the range discrepancies in all of their lanes.
Yeah, and as we saw in game one today, Initialize, even if you've got the Herald, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a lot out of it. You might only get, the 2 plates. And I'm looking right now, none of the turrets have even really taken chip damage for the most part. All full 5 plates here. And unfortunately for Dress Code and Hetel, you'd want to drop it there. You'd want to try and force something. But Honey and NT have been playing so defensively this entire time that there's been no opportunity to even look for that kill threat in this bot lane.
Yeah, because the thing is, you don't necessarily need to shove up here as this Jhin Karma. You just need to keep the Caitlyn away from your tower, and they've done that one just fine. They're up in CS. In fact, they've got that back off we called earlier. It came at the cost of Honey's heal, but it got them the wave advantage, and they're doing pretty well as Paz just being obnoxious, and you saw once was hanging around in that bush to make sure there was no opportunities to counter gank there as Paz was shoving out, and Sengoku with pretty strong control of the river, pretty strong control now of their lanes, pretty strong control in terms of the CS, feeling more and more comfortable in this game. And actually, Honey's going to be able to get themselves a plate down in this bot side, which is not what I was expecting necessarily into a Caitlyn.
No, not at all. Especially it's every time we look down to the bot lane, it's Dress Code and Hetel just kind of shoving up. So it feels like every base Dress Code and Hetel have taken, Honey and Anti are able to get in there, get that chip damage down, which has just not been answered by Dress Code and Hetel on Honey and Anti's back. Now, Herald being dropped kind of early here for Prio at the Dragon. They're trying to lock Jet down here, but they've lost the inside track, and once is still there, Herald will be cleared out, and V3 is not really going to be able to capitalize on that Herald they fought so hard for.
Maybe looking back in minutes, Jet did go in, but there's a Keeper's Verdict coming down now, which is making life a little bit difficult. Stolen Keeper's Verdict in turn to make things a bit difficult. The Steadfast Presence has gone down already. Aego staying about alive has started throwing down some of those fears. Deadly Flourish goes out as well, and it's just some HP bars traded, and Aego's flash that goes down. But Sengoku Gaming returned to this Dragon, which was partly what the hell was trying to buy for V3. Instead, it would be Sengoku Gaming securing a second Dragon and actually stopping some of these backs, as well as NT throws down a... I'm not sure whether it is a renewal. Renewal is the empowered W. I can never remember the baseline W. I apologize for it. I remember all the other ones. Baseline W, I forget.
You know what?
That's do so well.
The tether. Good enough there. The tether.
The tether, yeah. You know.
I don't know the actual name.
Considering how hard it is to work out which of Karma's abilities it is, I'm normally pretty good with those.
You're better than me there. I mean, the main point stands though that
see it's all there.
that NT is able to zone out on their own here, and I did want to highlight that in that entire fight, V3 burned every single ultimate to make that happen.
Oh yeah,
and
you're right.
Sengoku didn't. They literally just hijacked. They used that, and the needlework. 2 ultimates got used for the entire engage. So V3 could not even look at that Dragon. Dragon's Rage was up and available. If Unica even walks in, you just kick that Poppy right out the same way Poppy kicked you out of the Herald pit. And that's my problem I'm having with V3 right now is they're laning. They're down in CS in every single lane. It's a small amount, but it's there. The team fight, they're the ones burning more to get less. The macro, you got the Herald, but you're the one losing plates. And all these small things do add up over time. And as the game goes on, I expect to see all of this kind of congregate together and start to snowball out of control. It will eventually hit the point where there'll be just one big objective, and Sengoku will just win that fight and then break the game wide open.
And the thing is, like Sengoku, the later this game goes, I definitely prefer Silas and Gwen in a side lane over the other options, and never mind that as we got a fight going on. I thought it might just be a little bit of trades of abilities. Instead, it's a curtain call coming through. And the top side as well as Washide gets eviscerated by the needles, looking more and more like an acupuncture test doll, taken straight out. And I don't think he feels better after that particular massage. Now Jet might be in trouble. Then he's going to get over the wall with an abscond and an abduct, and now can get back towards this bot side as once just starts up that second Herald, having claimed the top laner's life.
Unica here has to be careful the tether once again.
Can't quite get out with the speed up from that Steadfast Presence. Turnaround there from Heddle. Going to try and get some work in. It's a 2v3, even if the health bars are low, but Jet can heal him so much with the King Slayer. Now a flash for a renewal, force a flash out of dress code. There is a soul flare to pop off at the end of it all. That's the Herald secured at the same time, and Sengoku pick up another kill, and it's a second kill onto Jet, their import, their new starting mid laner, definitely proving his worth in this game. We'll get a replay of this top fight, though, to see exactly how Washide died up here under his own tower.
Yeah, and it's pretty cut and dried for the most part. Paz already doing the bulk of the work, and Once just needs to Dragon's Rage, land the resonating strike as well, follow up, and it's as clean as can be there. I don't even think they had to blow any summoners to make that happen. So it's kind of rough. And for Sengoku here, once Paz starts hitting that point where no one can match them in the split push, that's sort of the death knell here for V3. Because if Washite can't hold Paz, neither can Eugeo here, then the Gwen can just get to split push. And for the team fight proper, we've already said it before, V3 aren't actually that strong at the team fight. They're kind of a pick composition with what they've drafted here. And the Caitlyn falling behind as well means that they might lack the physical damage to actually win any fights once Sengoku starts building magic resistance.
And, you know, like Sengoku, when you've got this Silas and this Gwen, you've probably got better side lane options as well. You've got great flank options from V3. You've got great ways to potentially trade out as Jet. Going for the 100-0. That's just stylish.
Yeah, and the way they traded the ultimates too was fun to watch. The orbs just spinning back and forth there. And the Silas is just starting to outscale. We talk about the Gwen outscaling, but hey, Silas is going to do that too. And if Paz and Jet, they can go for a 1-3-1. V3 at best can only answer one side here. Jet, please don't die. Okay, thank you.
He won't. He's fine. He knows what he's doing. He's fine. But like, it's just like, if you could dodge a ball, you could dodge a dark orb, I guess. And both teams just decided it's time for like ultimate dodgeball in the bot side. Jet wins out on that one. As does have a few members of V3 looking up to try and punish him. He's got to over a ward and die, isn't he? There's good hallowed miss though. Good fingers, good reactions, gets away with it. And V3, what can you do in this scenario? You are down 2 Drakes. There's still that Herald in inventory for once. You've got a soul point fight coming up in 30 seconds just over. You're down the initial turret. You're down 4,000 gold, as we said. The scaling not necessarily there with you. You've got a Silas, which is like literally unmatchable right now in a side lane. Gwen's doing well. Like, the list is going on and on and on as it stands. And I need to see something out of V3. I need to see a good flank from Washi. I need to see a good pick or something, because it's feeling like this game is slipping further and further out of their fingers.
Definitely. And if the laning phase did not favor you before when things were even, it's only going to get worse when you start to fall behind. And the more complex the problem looks, the more simple your solution has to be. And for V3, they're kind of doing it already, which is group up and start the gank squads rolling. Sengoku is not really grouping up. They're trying to take advantage of the fact that they can 1-3-1. And that does mean that all the lanes are vulnerable. You just have to be willing to commit to it and force the play. The worst thing you can do as V3 right now is be passive, is go back to your lanes, because things like this is going to happen where you're not winning the lanes. Once is getting free dragon, and granted, it's Cloud Soul, which isn't that impactful in this particular game when Sengoku aren't trying to run you down or run away from you. Combat stats would be better, but you're still giving free soul, free gold, and free objectives over to Sengoku when you insist on laning. Even
then, I still think Gwen, Lee Sin, even Karma or Silas, pretty good with that Cloud Soul, because Gwen with even more speed to run you down is pretty damn terrifying, as Hettel takes a stolen depth charge to the face, gets knocked up and taken down by that fourth shot of the curtain call. I thought we might be able to talk it off as it was just a zoning ultimate for the tower. Instead it wasn't. It was just another kill on top of it. Sengoku Gaming feeling like they are untouchable in this game, can do whatever the hell they like without much of a response coming through from V3 at all. Yeah, definitely there. It's a bit rough to see. And that's what happens when Sengoku starts grouping up, right? Like we said, they've been doing the 1-3-1. That's just because they want to be efficient. And now... Is it time? Is it time for a gank? Is it time for a play? Is it time for the pick CC? A flash heroic charge? They're going to try and get the kill, and they get him. That's a teleport coming through, but can they extricate themselves? Jet is hunting. Look at those changes. Looking straight into the irons, and it will be a 1-for-1. What is it? Watching, he's going to try blast cone over. Can't quite get over. Once went up into the air rather than anywhere away. Can land the sonic wave into the resonating strike. Why should I try to run out? There's a deadly flourish, forcing a backstep, and you can't put on enough moves. You're taken straight off the dance floor into custody. Silas doing a lot of work there. 4-0-3. But initialize, V3 are on the board. They're on the board. It's true. It's not a completely perfect game. They did get the initial herald. They did get a kill. They could take that home to the bank.
Yeah, baby steps, right? You got to start somewhere. It's kind of rough, but they did find the kill. Now you need an objective, and all 3 turrets are actually primed for the side of Sengoku. They are all kind of low here, and there are a lot of objective bounties. And if you can do this once to Paz, you can do it more than once. And it's not just Paz. If you find Jet on the side, you can do the same thing as well. V3 are not so far out of it that they can't make any moves. It's just that the cost of their moves are going to be fairly high. And in this case, it was a 2-for-1, kind of rough, yes, but if you're falling behind, I think you still take it, especially if there is a bounty. I don't think there was one on Paz, but hey, other people do have bounties.
Okay, Jet did have to pop the stopwatch there, but of course does actually have the second one. The Zonya's going to turn back onto Unique, who's trying to trade out this one as best they can. The bullets are flying, and they've got the dancing shoes pretty well. The keeper's verdict. Can he hit it? Miss it. Now Unique needs to try and outchange, but he will not be able to manage it long enough. Again, they've got the dance moves, but just not the final step. Can't avoid everything as once. Now looking for an angle, gets the kick into the wall, into the sonic wave. There's a crippling. The cripple comes through. Can't quite land that last Q, but NT kills it off with a soul flare. They get the kill again. It's the top jungle trying, but getting turned around on.
I feel like you're in trouble when the support karma is flashing in to kill you for fun there, and just securing. Was it necessary? No. And on top of that, Washide's got teleport as well, but the kill does secure them the bear, and actually the first kill would have been already sufficient on Unica there. And V3 have no vision whatsoever. They've steadily lost control of the map, and right now they can't even walk into this area. It's all dark for them. This is like a nightmare where they suspect Baron's being down, but they don't know.
Oh, Jet just feeling like he can do whatever the hell he likes. Yeah. Needlework comes out. It's actually Honey that picks that one up. They're going to try and get some more. It's a decent attempt there briefly, but Nautilus just goes down, and you lost 2 members. They can turn back towards this Baron that's already gone by the by, so never mind that. They can just take the 2 kills and look for even more. If Wash does on vision... They've got flashes. There's a depth charge stolen. Watch out, trying to get out with that rocket belt. He'll come in for even more. And he just murders him. It's straight cold-blooded murder.
Like, I'm speechless right now, Initialize, from what Jet just did. And Jet needs one more assist, one more kill, one more takedown of some sort. And he's got a fully stacked Mitch Eyes.
I mean, that book is looking more and more like Death Note right now. Like, he's basically gone, is your name L? Can I write it in here? And it appears like literally everybody is someone else to be cleansed from the world of Summoner's Rift in the name of the almighty Jet.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, Jet is the one person who didn't go back and base and buy. So I'm curious how much gold he has in his pocket.
It's the same play! Warthog kick into the wall in the side lane has just been once his entire modus operandi in this game.
Can I just point out, Paz didn't even get the assist. Like, once did it so quickly. The entire combo just one-shot Aogo here. Yeah, okay, you know what? I was already thinking Paz, unstoppable in the side lane, Jet, unstoppable in the side lane. Let's add once to that list as well. You literally can't 1v1 anybody on the side of Sengoku anymore. Hell, at this point, I'm not sure you can 2v1 most of them.
That's 4 items on Silas, the 24 stacks. You're looking like everyone else is like, they've not even got second items for V3.
Oh.
I would play by play that, but there's literally no time. I could go, that is the amount of like syllables I can manage to enunciate before the player falls into the gray screen again. It is gray screen simulator right now. It is 15 kills to 1. It is Sengoku Gaming absolutely obliterating V3 in this game.
And to me, Initialize, the sickest part is even after this absolutely dominant performance, which Sengoku needed to put on to prove that they were 3rd place, I still can't say they're 3rd place because of the strength of their schedule so far.
They have done very well considering who they have played, but they have now got to try and prove it against some of the better teams. They've got to close out this game still. It's just a stolen slicing Maelstrom that is keeper's verdict away from. The bad hammer come through from Poppy, who is trying desperately to hold on to this game, but this ain't Twitch chat. You can't control Sengoku Gaming like this. They at least get another one back once finally falls. But it is in trade for his life. 1 Nexus turret remains. Sengoku Gaming with the Baron buff with 2 inhibitors down, starting to shove in, starting to look like they can try and finish this one off.
One last disparate defense here. It's not even a defense. It's a sign of resistance more than anything else here. But Dress Code just doesn't have enough damage. The chip is coming down, but I feel like without LJL here, they just don't have enough damage to really finish off any of these kills.
They just don't, and the game is over like that. They had a moment where Sengoku toyed with their food a little bit, but it was a pretty clinical display. I think it's fair. It was a slow early game, but the moment those kills started rolling, they just did not stop.
Yeah, that was really brutal to watch, and I feel bad initialized for the V3 squad because this academy team has had a rough go of it over and over and over again. And I think the draft wasn't terribly cohesive. Like we said, it was kind of a pick comp with various team fight elements, but they picked a composition that should have won all their lanes early. Syndra into Silas, range into melee. We saw the winning early. Caitlyn lanes are supposed to win pretty much regardless of whatever's on the other side. And in the top lane as well, the Kennen into a Gwen, that is an early game counter. We saw the damage potential to come through. Even in the jungle, hell, they had Poppy into Lee Sin, which was supposed to nullify the Lee Sin.
Into Silas as well, right? Like, you should be able to win that 2v2, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they just could not find a single winning lane to start the game here. And it feels like for V3, maybe you got to go back to the fundamentals. If you're drafting an early game team comp with all the counters and you still can't find a lead coming out the early game, that's your problem right there.
Questions to be asked, and some of them we'll answer in about 2 minutes when we come back to the analyst desk and Brackish Brips return. So we'll be gone for a few. Stick around and we'll come break that one down. More LJL action to come.
Welcome back to the analyst desk, day 4 of the LJL, and Sengoku Gaming put on kind of a clinic, taking down V3, floundering a bit in extremely convincing fashion. RMC, I want to jump to you immediately. This felt like an almost inevitable conclusion, this game. Like, everything that V3 tried to do, Sengoku was there with a response and then some.
Yeah, if you turn nameplates off, you could have told me that was Detonation Focus Me, and I would have believed you. That was how clean the team looked. And I know that it sounded like I was joking a little bit when I said that, hey, at least V3's on the board when they traded 2 for 1. But I wasn't completely joking. That was their first kill, and V3 just needed to make something. Anything happened there.
I'll jump in here briefly as well, because you kind of saw that the way V3 decided they were going to try and win this with flanks and taking off those early hows and trying to snowball from there. Because actually the early game, it wasn't, they weren't behind as a result of the early game necessarily. They were down about 1,000, 2,000. You could play that. Mm-hmm. But the moment they turned up the objective and they get absolutely blown apart at that initial Herald, and then every objective after that, and then you start getting solo killed in side lanes. You could see the moment where like the cracks come in, and it doesn't just crack, it crumbles. It is pieces all over the floor, pretty much ever since that initial Herald fight.
Yeah.
You were talking about this Initialize of Once's godlike performances of years past. Well, there's a reason this guy is known for his Lee Sin absolutely decimating V3 in pretty much every lane. Dies at the end, but that was mostly when he was going for style points. And we do have a replay that we can bring out. It was basically the point where the game was pretty much over with the Baron.
Like, look at the kill score right now. Look at the objective score. Look at the tower score. It's 3 dragons, 10 kills to 1, and then they just turn it around. And Jet gets to do this just to say, I've got Baron, and now I can literally murder everyone else. There is nothing that V3 can do. It is so clean. It's so crisp. And considering Jet was an unknown coming into this year, pulls off stuff like that. Considering Once was on Burning Core that looked... We had a nickname which was tongue-in-cheek and a bit mean. It was Burning Corpse, was because of how bad they were at points last year.
Yep.
Once did not look good. Like, you've had some of these players like, I don't know what to think about you. Are you going to be any good? I'm looking at like Paz as well, bit of a suspect last year. They all looked so good in this game. They looked pretty good this split. So far, thumbs up.
Yeah.
The thing to actually say about a lot of the members of the Burning Core, obviously, well, I won't go too deep into it, but Once looking really good. Yuhi, someone that we were constantly down on in summer, really showing up on Burning Core this spring. He's had some great performances.
Wait for it. Yeah,
I agree. It's early. Okay, it's early days. Yes, but let's give the man some credit while we can. Initialize.
Yuhi, this is no slight on you. You've just burned me before. I need to see more before I can open my heart up to you again. Like I can't trust you until I've seen a couple more weeks of good play.
Hey, Initialize, there's a chance that he might impress you today. I mean, Burning Core's coming up right after this. And actually, I want to talk a little bit on standings as well, because we had a 4-way tie for second place, actually, coming
How much
into
that changes
today. Yeah, and we're already seeing some changes. Axis, for one, is knocked down, so they're no longer in second place. Roscoe Jesters is still up there right now after the performance that we saw in game 1. And now Burning Core as well. They could potentially still be up there. Sengoku potentially still up there here. So we've got a chance for a 3-way tie still for second place.
That's exactly where I want to be in a week 2 situation. At least most of the teams vying for those top two spots. And I think we're going to say, looking forwards now, Sengoku Gaming 3-1, currently tied for second place. But that was against a lot of fairly easy teams, and their strength of schedule going forwards is when they're actually going to start being tested.
Yeah. For sure. Next week, or actually not even next week, this Sunday, they go up against Roscoe Jesters. And you heard us talking about it earlier. I think most of us are currently in agreement that Roscoe Jesters are looking like the second place team. So that will be a bit of a test, trial by fire, if you will, for Sengoku here.
Exactly. It's going to be the yardstick that we can really measure them against. Obviously, they're good at beating the teams below them. Can they actually punch at the same weight? We will find out on Sunday. We're going to jump to a break for now, which means that I'll be saying goodbye to you, Initialize and RMC.
Alas.
It's been a pleasure. After the break, I will be joined by Middlecott and Oak to bring you the remaining 2 games of the day. Don't go anywhere. More LJL action coming right up.
Let's go.